everybody. Now, the short film you're about to see was made a couple of weeks ago at our home in Denham. Now, the first thing you'll see is jolly old me arriving home after a drive down to the village to get me weekend shopping in. Well, are you all ready then? Well, let's go. Something tells me something's gonna happen tonight. I read in the papers that Gemini people will make it tonight. Stars will be shining, my sign is aligning with love. So come on and make it, let's take everything that we've been dreaming of.
There's the star.
What on it?
Look at this. You see, she's a superstar. That was our Cilla.
Cilla loved the camera, so it's no surprise she had a collection of home movies dating back decades.
Come on, Cilla.
It's Ringo. What is this?
Well, surprise, surprise, it's Cilla here.
See, that's the Cilla that I grew up watching.
We all think we know Cilla the star, but behind the scenes, she was so much more.
Champagne, please.
Cilla's lost tapes show a pioneer who rewrote the rules of show business.
I was the original woman's liver. Trust me, I was.
As women in Liverpool, we just have to be really tough, and you can see that in Cilla.
She spearheaded so much, not just with music, but just with being a woman.
I was really aware of my strength. I was totally aware of my power. This is show business, Robert.
Now we, and those who knew her best,
It's so good seeing this.
will discover these amazing lost tapes for the first time.
I didn't even realize that that piece of film existed.
We are live. We're at Casa Cowell.
Surprise, surprise, Cilla's here.
This is Cilla, the trailblazer, as we've never known her before.
Hope this is on. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You know, show business is an incredible thing. I just love what I do. And when that red light goes on, the light in me lights up.
The voices on this tape are Cilla and the ghostwriter of her autobiography.
Do you know what I learned? Never to take anything for granted. Absolutely. Very tough business.
They were recorded in 2002, and along with the home movies, are also part of the treasure trove found in Cilla's home. This archive and fan recordings gives us a glimpse into a life lived in show business, from the 1960s to the 21st century. This is one of the oldest reels, dating back 50 years. A silent film from the mountains of Austria.
Joe, I never believed her. She used to say to me I could ski. She's not bad, is she, with skis? Oh, she's fell over. I feel better for that. Good on her.
Oh my God, she looks so young there. So glamorous.
Look at that laugh. Always makes me smile. I didn't know she skied.
Cilla was on holiday with legendary music producer George Martin. He was crucial in the success of the Beatles and produced Cilla's biggest hits as well.
Yeah, she was very close with George. Look how much fun they're having when they didn't know the camera was rolling.
They respected each other enormously, and she learned from him.
It was a trip Cilla could never have imagined just a decade before.
What about family holidays, or couldn't you afford them? I mean, could you
There's
afford...
no such thing as family
No,
holidays. There was only the day trips to Blackpool. No, there was no family holiday. Or we would go to Auntie Lottie, lived in Manchester. That was great.
The Austrian slopes were a world away from where Cilla grew up. 1960s Liverpool. For most people, getting a steady job and raising a family was all that mattered. but not for Cilla.
I had a focus in my life, apart from getting married and having babies. You know, I wanted to be a star, I mean, from a very, very early age. Of course, you know, my mother was really thrilled that I got an office job, you know, because it was like girls either went to work in factories, you know, whereas I knew from the age of 3 I wanted to go into show business.
And for a working class girl with dreams of being a star, there was no better place to be than Liverpool.
Watch the water falling down.
We were just very inspired by music. It's a thriving young city, you know, and we used to go to all the gigs and you'd see the rock stars, the Beatles.
They got that ball rolling, the Beatles, they did. And it's a carousel. And Cilla, Jerry Marsden, myself, we jumped on this for the ride.
I was going to clubs from the age of 14. To go to all these clubs and to enjoy the different music, I was mesmerised. I thought, I want a bit of that. All this was sort of shaping my sights for a career. Also, I said big-headedly, I could do that. If not better, I could do that. And the same with the Beatles. They're not that great. I could do that, which was very big-headed of me because I would never dream of saying that today. The very first time I sang publicly, it would be before I left school. It was a song called Fever, Peggy Lee's Fever.
As soon as she got up there, she blew the place apart. You could see this is what she really loved.
Before we would go on stage, she'd come in the dressing room, if you could call them dressing rooms. I'd say, Jerry, can I get up with you? I'd say, of course you can. Just shout and I'll get you up. And then she'd get up and you couldn't get off.
How did you break into the pop world?
Well, it's very funny, really. I was discovered. I mean, a lot of people say they were discovered, but I mean, I was. I was a friend of a lot of the Liverpool groups who are professional now. So one night I did get up to sing in a club, and just so happened Brian Epstein was in the audience.
Brian Epstein was the manager of the Beatles, and now he wanted Cilla. She became his first and only female client.
Brian Epstein saw in Cilla Black something pretty unique, the strongness, the wonderful voice, and also the great encouragement from the Beatles.
It's called Anyone Who Had a Heart.
Her first hit became the best-selling single by a British woman of the 1960s.
Anyone who ever loved could look at me and know that I love you.
Brian said, Jerry, when you come to the office, I've got something to let you listen to. He played it. Cilla? He said, yeah. I said, wow. And it was fantastic. And I said, that's going to be a number 1.
She just moved on to bigger and better all the time. That was the beginning.
You're my world, you're every move I make. Other eyes
See the stars up in the skies, but for me they shine.
In just 3 years, the cloakroom girl at the Cavern had become the star attraction at the Savoy.
Reach for the sun above.
This was one of the most watched TV specials of the 60s.
Reach out to
But television audiences didn't see everything. One recently rediscovered number was cut from the original broadcast.
the minute you walked in the joint. I could see you were a man of distinction, a real big spender.
I was doing a song called Big Spender. It was a performance song, a fun song. A song also that I brought over from America for me to do. I never thought of recording it. Then Shirley Bassey's secretary was in the audience, and then she went back and told Cilla's doing this great, it's a great song for you. But I used to send, that's the true story, I used to send it up.
How about a few laughs? I could show you a good time.
Watching her sing Big Spender, I can understand why on hearing it, Shirley Bassey might have wanted to do that song. But isn't it fantastic that Cilla did it first? I mean, I didn't even realize that that piece of film existed.
Could she perform?
Cilla was a big earner, a millionaire by the age of 25, at a time when the average working woman made just £10 a week.
Where she grew up, Scotland Road, I mean, even when I was a kid, you know, it was a tough part of Liverpool. So for her to have got through that and to become this amazing success, she was obviously a very tough woman.
That toughness helped Cilla move up in the world, later followed by her parents.
We lived behind a barber shop. We never had a front door. My mother, she wanted a new council house and couldn't get her own front door. That's all she wanted, her own front door.
Yes.
And that was the first thing when out of my earnings, I bought her a new house with her own front. She still complained. She had the bus stops miles away. Couldn't you bought me one with a bus stop outside?
Are you ready for some? I could show you a. How about it, Palsy?
Yeah!
The 1960s was a decade of big changes, when working class lads could become international jet setters. And so could a working class lass. As her fame grew, the rest of the world came calling. Cilla was in demand, in more ways than one.
Ringo or Richie, he was like a best friend. Even though just for a giggle, he did ask me to marry him. Well, he was desperate, actually.
To get me to turn, these kids are going to have to bring the action. You are amazing.
I want them to give me goosebumps. I thought you were singing just to me.
I need to feel their energy. What just happened?
And most importantly, they've got to have fun!
All new, The Voice Kids. Starts this July on ITV.
Your son has been killed, so I'm at a bit of a loss as to why you would mislead us.
Don't harangue me. God, you're such a... We have to be so strong now, because I don't know where this ends.
I have a message for you. From Danny.
Get away from me!
Don't look for the person who killed him, because it won't help. It'll only make you upset, because you know the person who killed him really well.
Another chance to see Broadchurch continues tomorrow at 9 on ITV.
Cilla Black's incredible collection of home movies lay forgotten in her house for years. Unseen until now, these films and recordings reveal intimate stories of a working-class girl blazing a trail to become a chart-topping singer. But they also reveal stories of her private life, a woman as confident with the opposite sex as she was with everything else.
Flirting, dancing, wisecracking. You know me, never lost for whatever. And he gave as good as he got.
And for a huge star like Cilla, there were inevitably famous men in the picture. This home movie shows her behind the scenes with one of them.
Is that her and Ringo Starr? Oh my God.
It's Ringo. Oh, a Basil brush.
Having a lot of fun, genuinely. Really good friends they were.
Look at that laugh. Isn't that lovely?
Cilla and Ringo were close friends growing up, and back in the day, before they filmed this together, he even thought they might be more.
He was like a best friend, even though he did ask me to marry him, but just for a giggle. Well, he was desperate, actually, because all the other Beatles had girlfriends, and as in John's case, was married, and he was, I guess he was the odd one out. And I called his bluff. I said, well, call the bands in 48 hours, and I'll do it. But I just knew, I just knew.
Cilla laughed off Ringo's joke proposal, and in the 1970s, she was showcasing her own brand of feminism in a uniquely Cilla way.
Girl power and all that. I mean, I'm the original girl power. And for a start, I was going out headlining and pulling crowds in, thousands of people in. And I had all male bill underneath me. And there was nobody doing that. Nobody commanding that. I was the original woman's liver. Trust me, I was. Gosh, if I didn't turn up one day and that show was cancelled, all those men, they were out of a job. They couldn't work. I was responsible for a hell of a lot of people, as indeed I am today.
Cilla was well aware of her star power. So, when world-famous composer Burt Bacharach wanted her to sing his new song, Alfie, she took some persuading.
I was very much my own person. It took me a long time with Alfie to convince me that, I should do this. I mean, I put every obstacle in the way. Alfie, oh God, Alfie. It's what you call your dogs or your budgie. I just didn't want to do it.
I found that more success you get, the more confidence you have. And when you have confidence, all the feelings that you feel justified to bring them out. And when it comes to Burt Bacharach, of course, if she hadn't had the early success, she may not have been quite as savvy.
Can you relax everything?
But Cilla would only sing for Bacharach on her terms.
I said, I'll do it if he does the arrangement. Yes, he'll do the arrangement. I'll do it if he plays on the set, if he comes over. Oh, yes, he'll play in the session, fly to New York. No, I'll do it if he flies over to London, EMI, and does. So, and he did it, he agreed to everything, so I couldn't really back out. Mind you, I'm so pleased he did.
What's it all about, Alfie? Is it just for the moment we live? What's it all about when you sort it out, Alfie?
Cilla was one of Britain's biggest celebrities. But somehow, she'd still managed to keep her private life private.
Miss Black, what about marriage? What are your views on marriage? Do you intend getting married?
Oh, yes.
Or are you secretly married?
No. Actually, I think marriage is a very healthy thing.
Have you got anybody in mind?
Well, mind your own business.
But behind the scenes, there was a man. And there always had been.
When you first met Bobby in 1962, was it love at first sight?
Most certainly wasn't love at first sight, because I actually fancied the opposite. The blonde bit would never ever come into the equation at all. It was me and another girlfriend, and we clocked these two guys. And I thought, God, they've got money. They're all right for a soft touch. What a callous person I was. But then I was young. Hey, I was young. I wasn't looking for romance. But then he was funny. He was incredibly funny. And he was unbelievably good-looking, Bobby.
Cilla and Bobby became inseparable. He was her road manager as well as her partner. And he even travelled with her when she toured the far corners of the world.
I'd say someday I'm bound to give my heart away. When I do, it's for you, love, true love.
They were just very natural, like all great couples are. There's that sort of chemistry, and they had a lot of fun. And obviously you can see the opera house being built in the background, and she later performed there. Australia loved Cilla. One of the places that really she did so well in outside of the UK.
Oh, bless her. Oh my gosh, they just look so happy.
Nobody loves me. Then I look at you and love.
On this 1968 tour, Cilla and Bobby also visited Hong Kong and Fiji.
To see this great footage from Australia and Fiji, these exotic locations, yeah, they were just kids really in their 20s, and they weren't even married at that point. And so I think it was just lovely to see that chemistry and that sense of fun and adventure.
Bobby even wrote some of Cilla's songs and nearly got a recording contract of his own.
Bobby, he wrote so many songs. He was offered a big break, but Cilla wasn't having any of it. And he won't star in our house, and that's me.
Bobby might have put his own recording career on hold for Cilla, but they were a team. In 1967, when Brian Epstein died, Bobby became her manager, guiding her career to the next step.
Step inside, love. Let me find you a place where the cares of the day will be carried away by the smile on your face.
Women didn't get their own television shows in those days. It wasn't something that really happened. I mean, it was an amazing show for that period of time.
Cilla was running the show. It was her show. And then you always had a big star, usually American if they were, who could do it. And it was a brilliant idea. And it worked.
She offered me the opportunity of being on one of the top TV shows. So you had the whole of Britain watching it. And that doesn't happen all that often, but it did for her.
Walk on by. Walk on by.
Cilla broke the mold of the traditional presenter, and her show shook up TV.
Oh, what a lovely, nice, light front room you've got. Is the weather bad in your house?
There we go.
Oh, they've got the telly on. Oh, there's me pointing at myself.
Back in those days, there was a real definition between we are the performers, you were the audience. And she'd leave the stage and get in amongst the audience. That was one of her signature things. I mean, it's just a common part of the language of TV now.
Always down there in the front row. Now, what do you want to do first, Sid? Do you want to show us your knobbly knees or rattle your castanets?
The Cilla show was a hit, with audiences of 22 million.
We had big stars on the show. And Bobby, he would invite all the guests that were on the show out to dinner. And across the table, there was someone who said something, and Bobby said, oh, no, it was like this. And I said, oh, Bobby, no. No. And then all of a sudden it got quite personal. And now you're having a go at me. Whereupon Peter Brown said, you sound like an old married couple. Why don't you get married? And Bobby looked at me and he went, okay, you fix it up and we will. And that, I swear to God, that was the height of it.
You're my world, your every breath I take.
I didn't even have a wedding ring. I had a friendship ring. Bobby bought me in Hong Kong on the way there. I was playing Hong Kong. So that was the wedding ring.
But the night before the wedding, I gave a bachelor dinner party. So we were at the restaurant, and Cilla walked in. And I said, what are you doing here? You're not allowed in here. This is a bachelor party. And Cilla said, well, I wasn't going to miss this.
I've never been to the Mirabelle restaurant in Mayfair. And he had his stag night at the Mirabelle. Well, as is my wont, because I won't be left out of a do. And I thought, they're at the Mirabelle, and we're here. We gate crashed. Never mind. Yes, I gate crashed.
Was there a sense in that time that if stars of your ilk got married, that it would affect their fan base,
Always, yes. It did happen. it did happen.
Right.
It's strange because it's like, well, I've had a good innings at this business. And I wanted children so bad.
Cilla was married and ready to start a family, but not before making history in front of the Queen.
You're not gonna kiss me again. You've done it again.
ITV2 invites you to soak up our most outrageous summer yet.
Bring it on, it's gonna be sick!
So buckle up and feast your eyes on this.
Hello, Kev. Hello.
I gotta say,
This is savage. Like it's the Hollywood, baby.
Oh my God! You better believe it. ITV2's outrageous summer on ITV2 and ITV Hub.
Get ready to celebrate 21 years of TV's most glamorous awards.
Tonight's about a celebration.
All right, and the winner is...
there are 2 winners tonight.
Relive the best moments with your favourite stars.
You are me, darling.
If I can achieve this, so can you.
It's time for the Naughty Soap Award.
The British Soap Awards celebrate 21 years. Starts next Sunday at 9 on ITV.
Memories of Cilla Black's 50-year career are preserved in these film reels. And Cilla's audio interviews tell a story of a pioneer for women in entertainment. Never more so than in 1970, when she was pregnant with her first child.
Don't forget, in those days, the minute you got pregnant, you were told, stop, drop everything, don't do any more for at least 6 months.
At a time when women could be fired just for being pregnant, Cilla chose to take to the stage in front of the Queen.
I created a little bit of history because the Queen, up until then, had never knowingly been presented to a pregnant woman. I was really almost dropping, so they had to ask permission from the palace. And it was an unfortunate song to sing on the show because it was, "Oh, pleasure man, you've done it again."
5 in the evening, a beautiful evening. You call me and tell me let's go.
The performance also featured a young Nigel Lithgow.
Tickets for a movie show. Oh, pleasure man, you've done it again.
There's Cilla dancing around and singing and enjoying stuff. She was quite remarkable. She spearheaded so much, not just with music, but just with being a woman.
It isn't the first time, it won't be the last time, I know.
I had my partner, and we literally had to sort of make a little archway and run past Cilla. And I couldn't get my partner's arm high enough. So we literally clocked her on the back of the head as she was singing, "Oh, pleasure man, do it again," and doof, hits her on the back of the head.
The show doesn't start until late. We get there on...
Not long after this performance, Cilla and Bobby's first son, Robert, was born. And he was brought up here, Denham in Buckinghamshire. It was a world away from Cilla's upbringing. And for a look at what life was like, she let a camera crew into the family home. The film was made for her fans, and most of the footage has never been seen before.
It all starts here.
This is a house in Denham, isn't it? Lovely. Look at it.
Now, this is our version of a Dalek, straight out of Doctor Who. Actually, it's a coloured telly, and we love it very much.
Ha! Look at the telly. God, that'd have been the envy of the neighbours, that thing.
Bobby has brought out Sophie and Ada and our Walter for their daily romp session on the lawn. Oh, and there's me, of course. I like to join in as well.
You forget she's such a huge star and she's got this family life going on at home.
And Robert's having a right go at our Walter, look. Up again.
We were very lucky that what they were doing was quite high profile. When they were at home, they really loved a very simple, normal, family life.
Family became Cilla's priority. She and Bobby had 2 more sons, Ben and Jack, and for several years, she was out of the showbiz spotlight. But 8 years after the Cilla show ended, she made a primetime comeback.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Cilla Black.
You know, we talk nowadays about reality television, but with Blind Date and Surprise Surprise, they were the beginnings of reality television.
It's 61 years since you've seen Irene, your long-lost cousin. That's right. Well, it's about time you saw her again, Edna, because surprise, surprise, we've flown her all the way from Sydney just to be with you tonight.
It really did take the public and put them on TV in a way that hadn't been done before. And I think that was what made it so successful.
Well, I hope you have a great boogie on tonight's show. I'm sure you will. I am looking forward to this, Claudia.
In the 60s and 70s, Cilla had turned the cameras on the public. With Surprise, Surprise and Blind Date, she took that one step further.
Public loved her, and there's no doubt about it. I mean, she was adored. I mean, it's a rarity that someone like that can have that power over an audience.
Moving on to you, Claire. Hello, sir. What? What do you do, Claire?
Cilla knew that sharing the spotlight with contestants was the key to Blind Date's success.
You didn't really, before they went on a date, see their personalities. And in a way, that was what would make the public switch on the following week to see, especially if you had a lunatic on, which always made me giggle, or a character, I shouldn't call them lunatics. A character that I could bring out the best in them. It was always a did you see factor. Oh, well, you must watch next week. Oh, Ma, she will eat you for breakfast.
Surprise, Surprise and Blind Date ran for nearly 20 years. Cilla became the highest paid woman on British TV. This newly discovered footage from the filming of Surprise, Surprise shows Cilla's command of an audience wasn't just for the cameras.
Well, surprise, surprise, it's Cilla here, ladies and gentlemen.
See, she immediately gets on with people. That's what's remarkable.
Brilliant, well done, thank you.
Is that all right? Is that there?
See, that's the Cilla that I grew up watching, like this era. This was my TV Cilla.
Champagne, please.
Blind Date and Surprise, Surprise introduced Cilla to a whole new generation.
Just watching this woman owning the TV, there is no doubt that the reason I wanted to get into TV presenting is down to Cilla. You know, she was the only female at the time that was hosting those big entertainment shows. You know, she was the original girl power. She was Ginger Spice. She was #1 Ginger Spice.
The success was Cilla's, but as with the rest of her career, she hadn't done it alone.
Even though she was strong, I think she needed Bobby with her. But she didn't just need a man, it was Bobby the man.
My dad, his view was very much to protect my mum from all the kind of things that could distract her from being a star. And so he was very much in control of the business. All she had to do was be a star and perform and do the things that she loved doing.
He was a great manager, great reality. I'll have to tell you something now. He said, you are the product. You are like a packet of Persil, a soap pad. We actually talk about you as a product. You are not a person. But I was mortified. I was so upset. I was the product. You're my wife. I love you dearly. And I'd die for you. And you have to sit there and talk about you like as if you're a product anyway. Unbelievable, Sean. Learning process, though, for me.
Bobby's business drive helped Cilla and him climb to the top of the entertainment industry.
Blind Date and Surprise, that's kind of the legacy that they'd created together. And so those shows, we all loved those shows, not just because it was the show, but we loved them because they were a big part of him.
Blind Date was the last big success Cilla and Bobby would have together. In 1999, after a short battle with cancer, Bobby died. He was just 57. Cilla had lost the man who'd been by her side from the beginning. In her autobiography tapes, recorded a few years after his death, Cilla was still adjusting to the loss.
It's hit me. Bobby ain't coming back.
No.
It's gone. It's gone. And that does take time. It's taken 2.5 years for it to sink in. That really, Bobby is not coming back. Not at all. No way. Everybody said to me since Bobby died, you don't realise how lucky you were. Of course, I'd give my right arm to have Bobby back. He's not coming back.
With Bobby gone, Cilla was alone for the first time in her life. The nation's matchmaker was single.
She'd never done anything for herself, to tell you the truth. She'd never, used the hole in the wall to get cash out of. She didn't have a clue. Never been on a bus. All sorts of things like that. So she had to learn. She never ordered a taxi for herself. Bobby'd done everything for her, and all of a sudden then, this bubble's burst and she's in, the real world. What do I do?
Blind date for my mum at that time was very much a great distraction and gave her a great focus during those difficult times, those first year or two.
When Bobby was dying of cancer, when he said, go on and do it. Lights, camera, action. You do it. You go on there, professional. You're trained to do this. Well, life trains you to do this. Show business trains you. You do it. And I did it. God knows I did it. I did. A total wreck after the show.
Yes.
Total wreck.
After Bobby died, Cilla presented Blind Date for more than 3.5 years. But in 2003, she threw away the script.
Lovely. Hello and welcome to this very special live show. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, it is a very special live show because this is going to be my very, very last series of Blind Date.
It was certainly a shock to everybody that was in the gallery that just went, what did she just say? It was an enormous shock.
And this was just one of a few shocks Cilla had in store.
Hurrah, everyone, hurrah!
After 2 decades at the heart of British television, she'd found a new lease of life.
We're at Casa Cowell, and we haven't even got our own hair and makeup.
Surprise, surprise, Cilla's here.
Okay, we are live. It is Tuesday. We're at Casa Cowell, and we're just about to go to the Ivy. And as you can see, LA hasn't changed Lithgow at all.
For Cilla, her friends helped fill the void left behind by Bobby. This home video, filmed by Simon Cowell in Los Angeles, provides a unique glimpse into some of the friendships that got her through.
I do not remember this at all.
Casa Cowell.
I don't remember Simon Cowell being that nice.
We've got the champagne. And we haven't even got our own hair and makeup.
Surprise, surprise, Cilla's here.
Having Cilla come over, we had the best of times. And Patty Penn's there.
Here we are, the girls, always having a good laugh about something.
It's called phoning Cilla, is it?
Nothing like best friends.
And we haven't changed. I want to say thank you for something. Because I have not seen Nigel look so happy. And I'm serious.
She learned so many lessons after Bobby's death. And she lived an independent life. She had her family, but she had also very good friends. And she enjoyed every moment, eventually.
The first time I went to a pub was the other night. I went with Savage to the Goat and Boots the other night on Fulham Road. I got the first round in the Goat in Boots. And I did that at the ripe old age of 59. But I was thrilled. I thought that is the best experience. Now I can die happy. I have actually bought a round of drinks.
You see, such a simple thing that we all do, probably from an early age. But for Cilla to go up to a bar on her own, with a group of strangers and buy a round of drinks is a big thing. She'd never done it, you know, never at all. And she was over the moon. I said, you've only bought a round of drinks, for God's sake.
Buying a round in a pub was just the beginning of Cilla's new wild side.
She had all these friends, a lot of gay friends, who took her out to gay clubs, and she danced, and she loved it. And she loved the adoration, she loved everything about it.
In the night time, you know, I'm at parties, clubbing, and God knows what. But actually, I was called a goddess last night by a girl in China White.
A goddess?
A goddess. I've heard of something.
And so she started doing things that, you know, my dad would never have approved of or would have done. You know, I'm sure in some astral way he was approving, because she was having to rebuild this new life for herself.
For the first time in my life, I'm enjoying being single, because I've never, ever been single. Ever. You know, from a very early age.
As well as enjoying her social life, Cilla was also having fun with her career choices.
We'd both been asked to do the Royal Variety, and we were lying in the sun, and we had the iPod on, playing all on shuffle, you know what it's like, and you got to have a gimmick came up. And I said to Cilla, why don't we do this?
We went to rehearsals, and I was choreographing the rehearsals. I said, you will be great. Don't worry about it. It's gonna be good. And I tell you what, if in rehearsals it doesn't work, no one's ever gonna know.
We couldn't find, well, I couldn't remember the place, but we couldn't find it. Recording all.
This footage, filmed by Cilla's son Robert, has never been seen before.
Oh, God, look at me. Look how young we all look.
She was throwing herself in so much, I was getting a little bit embarrassed because I'd never seen her like this. She literally became, in her words, a slapper. Oh my gosh.
Because this was alien to her, bumping and grinding. She'd never done anything like that before, till she met me. She got a lot of criticism for this, you know, when it came out. So I got accused of turning her into a drag queen.
This is show business, Robert, isn't real.
When it came to showtime, Cilla's surprise appearance saw her play a musical stripper alongside Paul O'Grady and Barbara Windsor. But nobody was quite prepared for what Cilla had in store.
Well, she can That'll never make her rich.
Cilla came out, you physically hear a gasp from the audience because, one, they had not seen her since really Bobby had passed away, performing on stage. Not only that, she was barely wearing an outfit.
Cilla wasn't known for that kind of number. But yeah, there was a lot of, you know, quite sniffy. Cilla Black, what do you think she's doing at her age? You know, flashing her legs, she's got light bulbs all over her. It's called fun.
I've just switched myself on. A lot of people kind of missed the point on that. They just thought that we were all dressing up for the sake of dressing up. But I mean, I was playing a part, and it was from the musical Gypsy, and it was a bit of light entertainment. And I don't know what all the furore was about, because I was playing a part, I mean, and we had fun. And I didn't really think that it would steal the whole show.
But it did.
But it did. Oh. That's so much better.
Mind you don't send yourself. All that for Her Majesty the Queen, but she got her eye wiped that night.
Like she'd always done, Cilla defied expectations, right up until the end of her career.
Cilla, this is quite a moment for me. I can't imagine how this feels for you, being back on Surprise, Surprise in this studio.
Well, it's such an honour, Holly. And may I say, you're doing a fantastic job. I'm really so much better with an audience.
Yes.
Listen, give me a theatre audience. You'll never get me off.
In August 2015, she passed away at her home in Spain. But just a few years later, new audiences were introduced to the work that first made Cilla a star.
Anyone who ever dreamed could look at me and know I dream of you.
When I grew up in the 80s, we knew Cilla as the TV personality, but I don't think people really, from my generation, got to know Cilla as the vocal talent, which I know she wanted to be known for. And when I heard that voice, I was just like, oh my God, her voice is unbelievable.
Cilla's music lives on, but in the end, her legacy was much more than that.
She was a real woman. She was funny, she was elegant, she was beautiful.
You couldn't wish for a better friend. She had a gift of being herself. I mean, I think, and that was the secret of her career.
She was great fun. She was game for anything. You could lead her into trouble. She didn't mind.
There are some people who are stars, people that actually twinkle, that when you walk into the room, you can't help but go and look at them. And she had it in abundance.
It was a privilege to not only have her as a mother, but also to work with her. She was a real force of nature, you know. She just, she was a star.
I knew from the age of 3 I wanted to go into show business. I wanted my career. It was already inbred in me. I knew exactly what I wanted to be a star. And that was it.
Well, that's just about the end of the film. Thanks for coming. We've enjoyed having you, you know. Ta-ra. See you at the Palladium. What's it all about, Alf?